This is Octave Leap. Innovation, regeneration, and human optimization.
Welcome back to the Octave Leap live stream. We're gathered here today on the 26th of April, 2022 to talk about a very important theme. This is probably the most important episode I've done to date. And I was actually going to do something different, but I pushed that back to next week because I really want to talk about this today at this point in time while we can still get ahead of the subject. So it's going to be a bit uncomfortable, but I've always got solutions, okay? So we're never going to end and leave you with a negative dour situation. There's always going to be happiness, and there's always going to be optimism, because ultimately we've got 20 trillion volts of potential flowing through us, so we can make anything happen. Just remember that. Because today we're going to chat about central bank digital currencies. I said the impending dark horse of central bank digital currencies. And the reason why I called it that is because this is how I feel about them. You see, this is the masses of humanity, the fish swimming up there. And then they're all going to the shiny light. And the shiny light, of course, is whatever's happening right now, you know. Whoever's doing something stupid in politics, whatever's happening on the world stage, which country did what, you know, a change of, narrative. Now all of a sudden you got to be indoors. Now you can go outside. You got to wear this in your face. You don't wear this in your face. You need 3 instead of 2, or you need 4 instead of 1. All of that mind-numbing crap is the light to keep the fish distracted from the big jaws of doom that want to clamp down. And this is the change to everything we've ever known about society that is coming with this thing that is colloquially called the Great Reset. And so, while we have individuals like this, I don't even want to show this guy for too long. I get scared and I know he's going to spook children. That's Brian Stelter from CNN News, who says beautiful wisdom like, these 4 words are helping to spread vaccine misinformation. Do your own research. In other words, most people simply don't know how to do their research, especially when it comes to understanding the complexities of medical science. So that's the thing that we're being fed and told here, that we're too dumb to understand the complexities of medical science. And what he's also saying is we're too dumb to be understanding the complexities of the financial system. Because ultimately, some of these financial instruments that crash economies, like mortgage-backed securities, are too complicated because they're intentionally made to be complicated so that nobody will look at them. Take the term quantitative easing. Does anybody know what that means? When they hear it, do they just kind of turn off? Quantitative easing means we print money. Money machine go brrrr. Our friends get money. Your money worth less. That's what quantitative easing actually means, simply put. And so when we hear these complicated terms, we're meant to just turn off and to trust the experts. And of course, the experts in this case, what are they telling us? They're telling us, look at the light. Don't worry about the big mouth, the big teeth that are going to clamp themselves. But the thing is that there's millions of little fish for every one of these big lanternfish. And if the millions of little fish stopped going to the light and actually realized that the millions of them could take out the lanternfish is done. The lanternfish only has this tiny little strand holding up the light for the entire ruse that it's trying to pull. So just remember that as we dive into this theme. So that is my prelude. And I'm just going to check in, see how people are doing. See how it's going on the chat. Hello to Belgium. Hello to the UK. Hello to Colorado and the tip of Africa. Man, we have a diverse crowd today. Okay, so now we're going to launch into it. And I'm not going to make this boring. That's my aim for today, is to make this interesting. But we have to know what these central bank digital currencies are, first of all. And so central bank digital currencies are electronic cash, basically. Instead of having bills that can be untraceable. If I go and I do a cash transaction, you pay somebody, pay the shopkeeper in cash, doesn't have to put it on the books, that type of thing. Sometimes if you go to see a practitioner, they'll say, hey, if you give me cash, I'll give you a discount, doesn't have to go on the books, that type of thing. That won't happen anymore with digital currency. And instead of having accounts at each one of the banks, you will have an account with the central bank in your country, who has all your other information on file, and algorithms then piece that together to decide what you can buy, when you can buy it, how much of the buying stuff do you get, etc. Okay, and so let's take a look at where we're at with this whole thing. Now, we're going to dive into a lot deeper of what central bank digital currencies are, but I just want to show you that it is something that exists. They have been launched in the Bahamas, in Nigeria, in Sweden, China, Jamaica, and strangely enough, Ukraine. Okay? Then this is also too, this map here from the Atlantic Council, their Geoeconomic Center, it shows you how far in development various countries are. So you can actually look at this map and see, well, there's 9 countries that have launched CBDCs outright, and all these other countries are in various stages of research, development, or pilots. And pilots, of course, are where they begin to test the technologies, sometimes on a small scale or on a full scale. Okay, so I just want to keep this in mind, that this stuff is already happening beneath the scenes when we're distracted by Vladimir Putin and that actor in the Ukraine, and all these other names and BS that invades our mind space. And so here they have a nice definition. A CBDC is a virtual money backed and issued by a central bank. As cryptocurrencies and stablecoins have become more popular, the world's central banks have realized that they need to provide an alternative or let the future of money pass them by. So it's interesting to say this is the centralized response to something like Bitcoin. Okay? We're going to take a look at the Bitcoin white paper at the end of this episode, and I'm going to show you what spirit Bitcoin was created out of, what problems they were trying to solve. Because I get a lot of people sending me questions with wrong information that they might have heard on some like QAnon forum or something like that, that just is like China owns 53% of the Bitcoin or something ridiculous, or Bitcoin is controlled by the black hats, or I don't know, but it's not right. So I'm going to set the record straight on what Bitcoin was and why they're scrambling now to create an alternative to it. Okay? So that's something to keep in mind. I did say, too, in my email today that I sent out to the Blade and Chalice list that I was going to mostly cite official sites on this. So this is from Newsweek, and I actually had to look really hard to find a frickin' article on CBDCs because no one's covering this, even though this is the biggest change in the economic system that is currently underfoot. And you can see from this map, this is being explored all over the world. This isn't a little experiment. Countries like Nigeria, the Bahamas, or the Eastern Caribbean, the Bahamas are up here, sorry, they've already put this into practice, and we're just not hearing about it. The U.S. is looking at doing research. China's already piloted it. Russia's already piloted it. Australia's also in development with this. Saudi Arabia's piloting it. Pilot means that they're not too far away from actually implementing this at full scale, okay? I used to work in engineering. The pilot scale test was about a year and a half away from the full scale rollout. Okay, so in this article by Newsweek, official source, Central Bank Digital Currencies, the next money milestone. And basically what they go on to say is they're talking about President Biden last month. I'm going to get into what President Biden said, but that's sort of what triggered this article, okay? CBDCs are projected to be the next great experiment in finance and the next milestone in the evolution of money. Over 85% of central banks worldwide are in the process of considering, developing, or implementing CBDCs. Okay? And China is right at the forefront of this. And, well, I mean, go take a look at some videos of Shanghai if you want to see how China considers their people. I won't say anything more on that. Okay? So there's no consensus on a precise definition because this is still being explored, experimented with. They're still conducting pilot scale tests on this. But let's take a look at even what they admit here in Newsweek, which, as we learned last week, is owned by, the same people that own everything else. The anonymity offered by cash and cryptocurrencies is unlikely to be offered by a CBDC system. For this reason, many countries, including the US, have raised concerns about the privacy protection of CBDC users, with one commenter even calling the trend Orwellian. That's because it is. That's because everything is traceable. Everything can be connected to all of your other records, and they can be visible to authorities. That's why they're doing this. So, one potential upside is the reduced risk of security breaches inherent in the government assuming responsibility for cybersecurity, which they have a terrible track record of, by the way. Government agencies get hacked all the time. You know, I can't remember how many hacks they've done of the Russian different Russian government agencies recently, but it's huge ever since the war broke out. So government agencies don't necessarily mean high degree of cybersecurity. State-run banking systems may also bring up heightened cyber vulnerabilities, as any breach might occur on a more massive scale. And if everything's centralized, then a massive breach means everyone gets affected, and there's large-scale outages that occur in the shadow of that. Potential threats to civil liberties. And this is where I start to listen more deeply. Although a CBD system may function well in an already authoritarian nation like China, this is Newsweek saying this, folks, there is concern that such a system would not align with the limits on government power important to American, European democracy. Whew. Oh. In the CBDC system, it is not clear who would manage compliance, a job private sector bank currently holds. Although private sector cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin and Ethereum have successfully begun to decentralize the currency, the centralization of digital currency would undermine some of its goals. You think? You think that's a bit of an understatement? Including preserving anonymity and avoiding complete government regulation. Increasing the role of the federal government in the financial systems beyond the role it already plays may cause concern, with some commenters arguing that CBDC benefits are dubious, but the downsides are certain. The complexities and risks of a CBDC system should not be ignored. Okay, so I'm fairly certain here that, reading these very above board mainstream sources already begin to paint a bleak picture of this technology. And from that, and from the wide-scale research development, pilot-scale testing around the world, we can see that there's a lot of lack of dialogue about such an important technology that might be rolled out in the near future, okay? Does anybody have any questions at this point? Please just put them in the chat. I would really like to hear if you do. I'd be happy to answer anything. All right. If not, moving on with this presentation. So let's go over here. And then this is sort of, these are not official here. These are people on Twitter. But a lot of people on Twitter have very important and useful things to say. And Majid here says digital IDs are a necessary precursor to replace cash with programmable central bank digital coupons. This leads to a Chinese social credit system. Okay? Fake resistance pretend our troubles are won and the struggle is over. We're only through round one. Now, what is he referring to? He's referring to the incremental step, the step towards full authoritarianism here. The EU confirming all 27 member states will have to implement the COVID Green Pass by July 1st. Again, it has nothing to do with this fucking flu. It's already come and gone for the most part. But it's this technology that's being put in. It's basically them saying, no, we need you to scan QR codes. It's the only thing that will keep you from getting a cold. Doesn't really relate if you think about it. But of course, a lot of people can't think about it. No, it's setting up for something else. It's setting up the checkpoints to basically say, okay, now we can track the movement of people. We can track the movement of currency at various checkpoints because the technology is in place a year or 2 years later. But of course, we don't often see the correlation between data points when we're kept in a state of stress, fear, and anxiety and distracted by very fast churning of information, often conflicting information that turns on itself 180 degrees every other week. One day no masks, the next day masks, that kind of thing. If our brain is always computing those things, we can't step back and see the bigger picture and the infrastructure that's being put in here. All right. So here's more recent news coming out of the US now. So this e-cash proposal came only 2 weeks after we received Biden's executive order on digital currency. The order requires the Treasury Department to urgently investigate how the Fed can implement CBDCs. Oh, urgently. Get it done. Because America's a little bit behind on this thing. Report back to Biden within 180 days. Okay, so set your calendars, folks, from what's this? March the 10th. So that'd be September 10th. He wants reported back. Okay, September 10th, 2022. Then from the report, they're going to come up with a plan, and then the plan gets implemented. So that's why I'm saying 18 to 24 months from now. You wait. I wouldn't do nothing during this time. Absolutely not. I wouldn't recommend that. But in 18 to 24 months, we're probably going to see some big crisis. And we know that now they have the capacity to do full world crises. They get everybody looking at the thing and then implementing very fast knee-jerk measures. And there will be no dialogue of CBDCs until the last moment, and it will be proposed as the only solution to whatever crisis comes up, and there'll be no time to contemplate this, no time to discuss this, no dialogue. It'll be the only measure that will be proposed. All the other ones will be censored or excluded from discussion. We already saw that happen. We already saw that with a certain illness, and there's only one effective treatment according to authorities. It's the same playbook. It's just forcing it down our throats, pretending like, the experts were working on this. Don't worry. Don't do your own research. Let us do the research for you. Let us tell you what to think and when to think it. And here we go. This is already moving full force ahead. Jamaica's newly minted Central Bank Digital Currency, or CBDC, ranked 4th. So it's not even the first one. About a group of 10 leading countries that are issuing CBDCs in retail form for use as money. No. And of course, this can be scaled. Of course, features can be turned on and off. So the first version of this is just going to be like, look, your money works faster. There's less fees. And so when this is rolled out, there's incremental versions of this. And, it's still a national currency. It's still a national currency. It's still a national currency. But if you say anything, that national currency gets shut off. And then one day you show up, actually, we're swapping. There's another crisis. We have to swap all our national currencies for a global CBDC. Could that happen? I'm speculating here, of course. But I speculate that that's likely the direction that this is heading, given that this is a supranational theme. It supersedes national borders. All right, I'm going to take a look at some of the comments here. I think people are just intently listening and not really asking questions yet. We'll jump into the questions maybe at the end. Okay, this is what I love, though. This is really what I love to see. So it's great to see essentially 100% consensus within the crypto ecosystem today against CBDCs and the panopticon that they entail. Don't worry, though. I kept a list of all the VCs, industry peeps, Cardano, XRP, that shilled and tried to rally institutional support for them in 2019. We don't forget, though. And this is where, when we're working with cryptocurrency, if anybody is working with cryptocurrency, I advise caution. I advise you to look into it, see what these technologies are doing. And I was jokingly coughing, but one of the reasons why I'm fairly outspoken against XRP or Ripple is because they're actively pursuing CBDC technology. Like, that's what they do. They want to implement their token and integrate it in with various countries to form their digital currency, their central bank issued digital currency. So there's no way I could support that company or anything that they do, any products that they make, knowing what it's going to be used for. That's effectively like saying, I'm going to go buy stocks in Monsanto. Sure, they'll go up, but what are you investing in? What are you putting your money behind? That's the part of it, that if we want a better future, we need to align our money with things and invest in things that we believe in, not in things that enslave humanity and that lead to further abuse and further suffering in the world. Okay, back into this. There's a great article, by the way, great article by Charles Eisenstein, sorry, not Einstein. He's smart. I don't know if he's that smart though. He penned the essay "The Coronation" in the beginning of 2020, and that's where he sort of started getting more popularity. And he wrote a very long essay on CBDCs, and he actually tries to take a fairly neutral stance on them. But I really, really love the way that he approached this section of the article. So instead of basically jumping on the side of these are draconian and totalitarian, he says it like this. Now I'll list some other benefits and advantages of CBDCs. You might notice that with a mere twist of the lens, many of these advantages take on an ominous hue. But let's start with the positive. Okay, so he is trying to give us the perspective of the legislators and regulators and government officials that are reading these documents about CBDCs. Because let's face it, these people are not, well, I don't know if they're all, but generally for the most part, they're not blood drinking, child abusing people. They're not these horrific people that, a lot of the time the conspiratorial minded make them up to be. They're a lot of the time just people who believe they're really doing the right thing. They're just so bought into a certain way of doing things that is totally messed up. I mean, look at woke politics. Those people believe what they're peddling, and they're causing harm as a result of that with such jargon as, punch a Nazi and then calling, grandma or pissed off locals Nazis and punching them out. I mean, that's the way that a sort of rhetoric or diatribe can go way too far with people who otherwise might be good intentions. They've just have a little bit of a mind virus going on. Okay? So let's take a look at it through their lens. Now, so as mentioned, CBDCs can remove what is essentially a 3% tax on most consumer-level transactions. That's because Visa and MasterCard slap that on, and most of us are using Visa or MasterCard. Or they're using bank debit cards, which also have a tax associated. So it's a swift, frictionless transaction, transfer money. So that's, a benefit. We can see, okay, we can immediately combat inflation by 3% by removing that tax. Okay. Unlike physical cash, all CBDC transactions would have an electronic record, offering law enforcement a powerful weapon against money laundering, tax evasion, funding of terrorism, and other criminal activities. Now, you'll notice here, stuff like funding of terrorism, you have to ask yourself who really funds terrorism, because when you start looking down that rabbit hole, the waters become pretty murky. So a lot of these are often offered as solutions to these big problems like money laundering, tax evasion, funding of terrorism, and other criminal activity. And with a mere twist of the lens, as the author said, you can see it through people that are disobeying, people that are not complying, people that don't want to pay for something that we say they should pay for. The funds of criminals and terrorists could be instantly frozen. The funds of thought criminals could instantly be frozen as well, rendering them incapable of doing anything requiring money, such as buying an airplane ticket, filling up at a gas station, paying their phone or utility bill, or hiring an attorney. CBDCs are programmable, allowing authorities to limit purchases, payments, and income in whatever ways are socially beneficial. For example, and does this sound very far-fetched with the way that we're hearing things? All products could have a carbon score, and consumers could be limited in how much they are allowed to buy based on that carbon score. Or if rationing becomes necessary, because there's God help us all if there's not enough toilet paper again, you can have a limit from the actual CBDC vouchers on how much toilet paper you can buy. So you see, the amount of data that is available through these transactions is absolutely immense. The minute they scan a barcode and it's linked to your account, they can literally see from your account, this was deducted and it went to this thing, this product that had a barcode. So you can see there that could eliminate anything that's not sanctioned or considered socially beneficial. And think of what some of those items might be considered in the future, and I won't go into more detail on that. With programmable currency, citizens could be rewarded for good behavior, such as reporting their friends for Spreading disinformation, eating right and exercising, doing good deeds that are reported by others, staying away from drugs, for staying indoors during a pandemic, and for taking the medications that the health authority recommends. Or they could be penalized for bad behavior for not taking the medications that the health authority recommends. Sounds a bit like this. Too many dystopian science fiction movies are coming to mind. Taxation and wealth redistribution could be automated. Universal basic income, welfare payments, stimulus payments, or racial reparations could be implemented algorithmically as long as CBDC accounts were firmly connected with the individual's identities, medical records, racial status, criminal histories, and so forth. Of course, now he's saying, well, let's look at the twist of the lens on that to freeze the funds not only terrorists and evildoers, but dissidents, thought criminals, and scapegoated classes of people. The money, to program money so it can only go to approved vendors, corporations, information platforms, and so forth. You can only buy your thing from Walmart, not from mom and pop down the road, because they're not an approved vendor. They haven't gone through the approved vendor list. They haven't gotten their ISO 9001, 14001 certification on all this mind-numbing crap that, we don't need for the human activity of commerce and transacting with one another. Those that fail to toe the party line can be demonetized with consequences far beyond what befalls the hapless YouTuber who utters heresies about these things that I won't mention because I'm a YouTuber and I don't want to be a hapless YouTuber. Under the guise of rewarding good behavior and penalizing bad to control every aspect of life so that it conforms to the interests of elite corporate and political institutions. To nip in the bud any opposition political movement by demonetizing its leaders and activists. Truckers! Either with no explanation at all or under flimsy pretext that the victims would have no other way to contest. So obviously the author here is saying it boggles his mind at how this could even be a discussion. Well, it's not a discussion because we're not told about this thing. We're not being shown enough information to have a proper societal discussion. And consensus is being manufactured without the input of most of the people that are on this planet at this time. Okay, I'm going to jump in here a little bit more because I just want to show you too the mindset of these regulators and these legislators and these government officials. Sure, this technology could be abused if it falls into the wrong hands. Thankfully, though, it will remain in our hands, the hands of smart, rational, sophisticated people, well-educated in the best schools, who have advanced to the top of a meritocratic system. In fact, the fourth industrial revolution that includes digital currencies and high-tech biometrics and surveillance will ensure that the good, smart, rational people will remain in power. These technologies will allow us to safeguard the world from irrational, anti-science, undereducated, psychopathic, charlatans, and demagogues who would mislead the masses and usurp the role of science, reason, and technological progress. CBDCs will vastly expand our ability to rationally administer society for the net benefit of all. That's the thing is you have to remember here, the mind control is so, I should say the mind programming is so strong that, you mention the name Donald Trump to the wrong group of people, and then immediately they just go hysterical. You're not even saying anything for or against the guy. You just mention the name. You mention the name Elon Musk now, after buying Twitter, same thing happens. And so these triggers are already embedded in the people that are now forming these woke political ideologies. So we see how this whole thing fits together. And a lot of these schools, by the way, especially the economic schools, like the Frankfurt School of Economics, these were breeding grounds for the ideologies of postmodernism after World War II in the 1960s and 70s. These were literally the incubators for all of the woke ideologies that we're seeing today. I mean, some of the publications coming out of academia, I feel so sorry that people are wasting their time writing about this stuff, but I also see how dangerous it is, even though it's being propagated and being held up as extolling, moral virtues. But what it really is it's basically saying, let's take a look, let's blame one group for the problems of the last few hundred years, and not only blame them, but let's dump everything on them and let's marginalize that group. And so it's still divisive. It's still pointing fingers. It still encourages violence against people. And that rhetoric will never lead to long-lasting solutions, as we all know. Anybody watching this show with a brain can tell you that in a second. Okay. So what next, Dave? What next? You're not going to make this scarier, are you? No, I'm going to get to a solution. I promise. I promise I'll get to a solution. I just have one more thing to show you. This is an oldie, but this is where it fits in. This is back 2 years ago, so March 29, 2020. Microsoft patents new cryptocurrency system using body activity data. Okay, now we forgot about this because we were too busy on the next thing. This time, remember, they weren't even masks at this time. It was like toilet paper and flatten the curve BS. You know, now there's been about 6 billion things between then and now. We forgot about this. But Microsoft still has a patent on a cryptocurrency mining system that leverages human activities, including brain waves and body heat, when performing online tasks, such as using search engines, chatbots, and reading ads. A user can solve the, whatever, okay. So basically what this patent allows, and look at here's the actual number of the patent, 060606A1. Again, I'm sure the religious types are alarm bells going off, and that is a weird patent number for sure. But what it does is it basically discusses how they can have a technology where there's certain sensors on the human body that then inform cryptocurrency payments. So it's an incentivized. So basically, if you do certain things and certain activities, is there a way we can automate you being paid, being rewarded for good little boy with cryptocurrency? Now, if we substitute the word cryptocurrency for digital currency and digital currency for central bank issued digital currency, you could very easily see that in another context, this could be the actual patent for a technology that allows them to monitor your biometrics and pay you in currency. So this is the actual mechanism for this whole system that really gets under our skin to do things. Now, I will stop there on all this because I think anything beyond this, and it starts to get awfully dark, and I think this is all we need to know. I will say a couple more things. The technology isn't finalized. It isn't a done deal. There's still, from what I've researched and read, about 18 to 24 months before this will probably be implemented on a full scale. So there's time. And there's time to choose a different alternative. And that we have to know about this now because that's the direction in which the multitude of narratives will converge that we're being told. And so we have to choose for ourselves if we want to go down that path or if we want to choose another path. And like we've heard so many times, there's a great divergence in humans nowadays. The people who are unconsciously led down that path that I was referring to, the ones that never really woke up, the ones that were always partying when we started questioning things and always told us that we were crazy and that and all that kind of thing, they're going down that path and we're watching them, and it is painful. Slowly, they're realizing, though, as it gets closer to the end, as it gets closer to that final gap between my money, what I thought was my money, my bank account, my ownership of things, and you'll own nothing and be happy. That's a big, wide gap to cross. People aren't going to go that easily across that gap. That's where we're going to see a lot more than truckers get angry. When they have to go from bailing in a broken system that never supported them in the first place to allowing that same broken system to try to experiment with a new one that will redistribute wealth in some way that's predetermined, that completely takes things out of their hands. That will be the final test, because there's no going back after that point. If we get onto a CBDC system, and I don't think we will, that really is the point where we say, okay, we've gone too far. There's no coming back from. Everything up till that point, 18 to 24 months from now, by today's watch at least, and I could be wrong on that, that is really the hard finish line. Because if we're biometrically connected with currency that can be shut off, we lose our fundamental bedrock of rights, which is the right to transact upon which all other rights are built. You can't have the right to assembly if you cannot transact. You cannot have the right to free speech if you cannot access the internet or if you do not have a free speech platform. You cannot have the right to religious assembly if you can't pay for anything to assemble anywhere because you don't have any currency because you've been labeled a dissident. Is this stream still going, or are they? Still going here. This is awesome. Okay. I haven't been blacklisted yet. How's everybody doing there? How's everybody doing in the chat? Let me know. Feel free to ask any questions. Because what I want to say here is this, is that if we have this knowledge ahead of time, and we're not going to fall for other narratives that try to move us in this direction of cashless, this kind of thing, we could take other alternate conscious measures into our own hands. And, that's why I've been so big on cryptocurrency. I used to do a lot of stuff relating to spirituality. I used to do a lot of astrology and different healing sessions and all sorts of other stuff. And I still believe that stuff is great. But for these times that we're in right now, we have to deal with the root of the problem. We have to deal with our lower centers, because those form the foundation, the bedrock for which the other stuff emerges. You can't be, dealing with these lofty ideals if you're cut off of currency, if your food security is compromised. You can't be dealing with this other stuff. So that's why we need complete sovereignty and the ability to choose when it comes to these fundamental issues of community, of food production, of economics, and of the way that we govern ourselves, essentially. And for me, I chose to go deeply into economic sovereignty. And what that means to me is simply being in control of your ability to transact, is never giving up and relinquishing that ability to hold on to that bedrock of being able to transact with who you want to. If somebody can take that away because you're given money from that authority and you're borrowing it from them, even though you work your ass off every single day, 40 hours a week or more, it's not yours. You do not have economic sovereignty. You need something else in place. And I'm going to show you Bitcoin, and as much, difficulty as people give Bitcoin, if you read the white paper for Bitcoin, and I highly recommend you do. It's a bit of a technical read, but basically, I'll just give you the abstract. It's a purely peer-to-peer version of electronic cash that allows online payments to be sent directly from one party to another without going through a financial institution. So already back then, this Satoshi Nakamoto, this mysterious person or persons who penned this paper, saw the problem of going through financial institutions to transact. Right now we have a peer-to-bank, to-bank-to-peer setup. So if I want to send somebody else money, I send them an e-transfer. It goes to my bank pays their bank pays them. And if the bank doesn't like somebody in that transaction chain along the way, and it happens all the time, of course, who's this person you're trying to transact with? We're going to just cancel it. You got to phone us. You got to sit on hold for 3 hours. Well, it might get worse than sitting on hold for 3 hours. You might not be able to transact with that person if they do or say the wrong thing. So this could be seen in those days. Digital signatures provide part of the solution. Okay, so this is what they say. So people have to sign on to doing this so that you can't go and rip other people off. They have to sign it. And then they solved another problem, which was the ability to just mint money out of nowhere. And so that's where the blockchain came into use with Bitcoin. And the other problem, of course, is if somebody else doesn't like this and wants to attack the system, maybe a malicious bad party, maybe a government, it has to be sufficiently decentralized so that nobody can overtake it, because there's actually a lack of consensus amongst all nodes that are validating the system. So these are the problems that the creator of Bitcoin sought to solve, to create a system where it's peer-to-peer and that you could trust that the system is so widespread around the world that nobody can overtake it. It's too big. Transactions are being recorded too fast that it would require an impractical and impossible amount of computing power to try to overtake the network. And that's what Bitcoin essentially solves. Now, of course, there's other cryptocurrencies that seek to do other things beyond that. So I hope people can follow that Bitcoin sought to solve these problems for us. Okay. All right, so I'm just taking a look at the comments here. Having the knowledge is key in being, yes. Thank you, Teresa. The issue is time is not on our side. We need to make the choice and take action now. Absolutely, take action now. That's why this discussion is important for today, and I couldn't wait for next week to tell you this, because we need to start making preparation. We need to first breathe and recognize the situation we're in, and then calm down, and then allow our own body's intelligence, our own navigational system to tell us what we need to do. And for me, I personally like decentralized cryptocurrency. That's my thing that I like doing the most and I get excited about, because I can now send anyone money. Being international, being Canadian, living abroad, dealing with people in all sorts of different countries, I don't want to have to deal with, oh yeah, I can send you this banking service to your account. It just gets so cumbersome and there's all these fees and all this. I can send people crypto in a second. So yeah, you take Phantom, you take Avalanche, okay, cool, here you go. And then, there's no cost, virtually no cost. It's like a fraction of a cent. It gets there in 2 seconds and they get the money directly. It doesn't have to go through all these checks and balances and them all getting their cut for it. And that is the beauty of cryptocurrency. And that's where the economic sovereign part comes. And the thing about it too is, you can swap your coins. They can't be taken away from you. The Russian oligarchs realized this when the war broke out and all of their assets got seized and all their bank accounts got frozen and their football teams got retracted. They couldn't do anything. So what did? They started to buy Bitcoin because they knew the only thing they could hold is Bitcoin on a cold wallet. Offline is the safest thing, even safer than gold. Gold has to sit in a vault somewhere. It's heavy, it's awkward. You can't carry it in a suitcase. You can sure carry a ledger in your pocket without problem. And so that's why cryptocurrency, which came around 14 years ago, is sort of this, nature's always got a sense of humor. It's always got a way of working, but it's always got a way of providing a solution. And thankfully, generously, ahead of time for us. So that's my personal approach. Now, some people might say, I want to get off money in the economic system altogether. Good for you. If you can somehow get a plot of land that doesn't require upkeep, you can get all the seeds and supplies you need to maintain the land and create something that maybe you can barter for something else you need, go for it. That's amazing. But most people won't do that. For most people, there's too many steps involved in that process, and it requires too many resources to begin with, too much initial capital to get that set up, not to mention the fact that most of your time is taken up by maintaining and getting your basic needs met, as opposed to living. I mean, if you're going to live in a truly off the grid, off the financial system way, completely out of finance in general, what I'm doing is I'm saying, well, let's have that, so a decentralized way of living, farming and all that kind of stuff, but let's now start to work with communities using various cryptocurrencies to transact. And it's happening more and more and more. And the more that I teach this, the more that I work with this stuff, the more that I'm paying people in crypto, people are paying me in crypto, and we're basically surfing on the wave of this great transition in history and having a lot of fun at a time when people are freaking out. Because the earlier you get into something, the more benefit you receive for getting in early. If I was in Bitcoin 10 years ago, $100 of Bitcoin in 2010 is worth 700 million today. Just keep that in context. If we were real early birds with this, we would be laughing with a very small amount of money. But I don't think any of us were. And now is the next best time. If you can't do it earlier, if you can't do it yesterday, now is a great time to get started. Now is an even amazing time to get started with cryptocurrency because it's not being hyped. The mailman's not talking about it. The lady at the hairdresser isn't talking about cryptocurrency. It's not the cool, hot thing because guess what? It's in a bit of a downturn. But there's the most upside now and the least amount of downside. This is the time to learn. This is the time to get into it. And that's why I don't stop with it. There's always new opportunities to be had. There's always a time to learn with it. So if you can, please take the time to learn. And I'm going to make it very easy for you. You can go, and I've got a link to this. I've got a crypto personality test that I created. I made this. I'm very happy. And I made this with a data privacy respecting, GDPR compliant test. And I had to look for this. So you can just tell the test. My appetite attitudes towards risk is I can't take any risks at all. Okay. How much patience do you have for realizing your crypto gains? I'm in this for the long term. I want to see, a completely new era. All right, cool. How much initial investment do you have? I don't have much, but I'm willing to work in crypto to earn more through it. You can work in crypto, by the way. You can work in the crypto industry. You can write, you can graphic design, you can do marketing. There's all sorts of skills that translate over from the old world into the new world. And the other thing that's interesting is crypto is part of a new internet. The internet's going to be a completely different mechanism that we get to build if we choose to in the future. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to keep doing this test here. Oh, I didn't even have it on the screen for you. I'm so sorry. Okay, I'm going to bring this test back up. My bad. I totally, whoops, went a little too far there. Crypto personality test. There we go. Okay, here we go. So this is the crypto personality test. I'm just going to put in my answers again for you all. And so here we are. What type of intelligence do you feel you have? So if you're not a math person, you could say, I go with my gut. I just know when things are about to happen. Okay, so really, really make this easy for everybody. How much time can you commit to maintaining your crypto? Well, you know what? I'm okay with putting in a couple hours a week to do some routine tasks that'll earn me a passive income. You can say that. You can say, I just want to put it in and leave it and get away from it. What defines your relationship with money? Well, if you can say, maybe, you haven't explored money and you hold on to it tight because you don't have much of it. That's totally cool. And I'm not recording these answers, by the way. This is just for you. Which approach suits you best? I like to learn linearly and create a system that gets good results. Great. And basically, if you want to say, join a community and movement that is breaking free of the old financial system. That's a lot of people here. You don't have to enter your name. You don't have to put your email in if you don't want to. I would, because I'm going to give you a free 20-page ebook, and I'm going to start to give crypto tips and little education in bite-sized pieces that you'll get in my newsletter. But if you don't want that, you can figure out, look, I'm a cryptophobe according to this. This is totally normal. So, I went with this approach that most people probably feel. And so it tells you how to deal with being a cryptophobe. So go do this personality test. And if you want tips, if you want little bite-sized pieces for getting started in crypto, sign up for the newsletter. If you don't want it, you just want to know what strategy you should have, then just take the test. Because a lot of people watch some of the videos I put on this channel and go, Dave, these are too advanced. It's too way beyond me. I want to get into crypto. I don't want to spend much time. So I'm listening. I'm like, okay, already this is a good challenge, but I like a good challenge. So what do I do here? Well, create something that's fun, interesting, a gamified experience that plays to their strengths. What's that? Well, they need to figure out how they work. They need to figure out how their brain works. And so that's why I put together this personality test to help you learn and realize, oh my God, I don't have to basically learn everything about crypto. I don't have to learn charts. I don't have to learn math. I just have to learn the things that work for me. Because getting information on crypto is kind of like getting any information off the internet. It's like taking a drink out of a fire hose. It's like gushing water at your face at 50 liters a minute. You can't do it. So you got to find like a little garden hose to take a sip out of. Okay, what are people saying here? All right. I'll be accepting crypto as payments for my business selling homegrown mushrooms. Also started giving people crypto as gifts. Yes, you are awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. Because you're on the right track there, Yellow Cap. So Susan's asking, everything with crypto is internet necessary. What if I don't have access to the internet anymore because I can't pay for it because I have no CBDCs? Well, guess what? They're actually building different decentralized internets. So again, it's not a problem we have to cross until, we can't access the internet. But then at that point, most people that want to go in this other better direction will be in the same boat with us and we'll have a solution. Right? So you can't pay with the old shitty internet that's censored and all that kind of stuff with, you can only do that with CBDCs, but there's a new internet that was built that all of a sudden everybody can plug into, everybody can access because it's made by people on our frequency that want freedom, that want decentralization, that respect privacy, that respect basic human rights. Okay. Carolyn says, and I like this one. Yes, I'm a copywriter editor, and I really want to start working in crypto web 3. It's actually got me excited about my job again. Give me a call. I'd love to speak with you because I absolutely want writers available. And I can write technical stuff. I like just bouncing ideas off so we can collaborate. This is very organic. This is how stuff happens. I've got my contact email in the description below, and I don't know if you can access the description during the live stream, so you might have to, when the live stream's over, refresh the page, come back and see all these links. But I do have the link to the crypto personality test down there. And just in case you want to go check this out and you can't access the description, I'm going to be really nice here, and I'll just put it right here, and I'll just say save, and I'll show you there. That's the crypto personality test. So octaveleap.com/crypto-personality-test if you want to go take that. It's right there for you. All right, now I did say last week that I would also be giving away some crypto education. So I do offer tips, newsletters, videos on this channel. So make sure you check this channel. Make sure you're subscribed to my newsletter if you want the freebie tips. But I do have a consolidated 6-week course called Crypto Revolution. And I am going to be giving away another spot for Crypto Revolution on today's course, because we're going to be running this again in May and June 2022. If you've already taken the course or did a version with me, you can jump on this one. There's another thing for you, so you can message me if you've already done the course, because there's a different thing to get on. But this is for people who haven't taken it and might be interested in a more structured crypto learning. And I'm going to give away one copy of this because you get to be part of the community. You get to work with me for 6 weeks. You get Q&A with my excellent instructors, Micah and Alex. And basically, we get to win together. And you get to reclaim financial sovereignty, learn about this well ahead of time, get to laugh your way into the new world because you understand what economic sovereignty is, what financial freedom can look like for you. And this is really made for people who maybe haven't won very many times with money in their lives, because they know deep down inside this millennia-old financial system is rigged. It sucks the life out of them. And so they don't even want to learn the rules of that old system. That's who this is for. So anyway, I'm going to go back here because I'm going to see a lot of this. I want to know who here wants a free pass for Crypto Revolution. I'm going to give one away today. I gave one away last week, giving one away today. Let me know in the chat if you want one. I'm giving one away. Just make sure you haven't taken it before. Please leave it for somebody new. And I'd love to see somebody who really wants to make use of this, who, feels like they've given me support in showing up and watching these live streams. And so let me know if you want to. Just start typing in the chat there. Because that's really what I truly believe in. I believe we're moving from a model of, we have to work to prove ourselves and your social status is based on how much money you have, into you're supported by your community. You're supported by those you're loyal to. And that's how ecosystems work. The ecosystem supports every part of it, and everybody has a specialty. Everybody's got their own unique part of that. And that's more organic. That's more of a natural vibe for how humans are actually made to interact, not in this commodified, robotic system that we've created for ourselves. Okay, so let's see here. All right, I'm not just going to go with the one who yells the loudest, but I got NC Vegan. I would love that crypto education. Cool, NC Vegan. Shoot me an email, admin@octaveleap.com, and I will remember you from the show. So shoot me an email there, and I'll get you registered. So congratulations, you are the winner of this. And hey, if you want to, you can also sign up for the course too. Anybody else that didn't win, you're more than welcome to do that. And you can check out the description for Crypto Revolution by clicking the link below. The last thing I wanted to talk about today was the fact that most of the work that I'm going to be doing from here on is going to focus on not just crypto, but a lot around this whole looming CBDC Dark Horse, but solution-based. So starting businesses, how to do an aligned business, how to actually, plug in and earn a living online. I'll tell you from my own personal experience, I had nothing in March 2020. I used to be a freelance engineer, which was a great job because I could work anywhere I wanted to, and I just basically do some engineering work. I do 40 hours a month, and it was enough to allow me to travel. But then that all dried up in March 2020. No savings. Vanessa lost her work. We were literally locked in a little beach house, and we had to figure out something. And I was working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I figured out how to make it work online. And so starting next week, we're going to shift the focus a little bit from crypto into aligned business. And I'm going to share with you some of the ways in which we can earn a living online and what that looks like. But also, more importantly, I've got a great episode next week. It's called Beyond Gurus. So I'm just going to find the thumbnail for that one. I can't do it right now, actually. It's kind of lodged back in there somewhere, but it's called Beyond Gurus: The Age of the Sovereign Human. That's next week's episode. And so we're going to learn about how we can decondition from the way that, celebrity worship, political worship, marketing guru worship, spiritual guru worship. These are all things where we give our power away. We lose ourselves and we don't know what to do. We don't know what our purpose is. We don't know what direction to take. And life is sitting here trying to give us resources, trying to give us food, trying to give us prosperity, and we're ignoring that, giving our power away. So that's where we're going to shift our focus next week. So it's really going to move from this world to crypto. I feel like if you're watching this, you can take the crypto personality test. You could sign up for Crypto Revolution if you want, but you've got the crypto stuff handled. I've now created this newsletter that you can access through the crypto personality test that'll start giving you tips, and I'll start to tie in all of the crypto stuff that I've done over the last 2 years so that you can start learning the ropes in a very easy to understand way. So crypto is done for now. We're putting that on the shelf after today, and we're moving into this fascinating world of taking your power back and working with I don't even want to call it business, because the word business sounds like busyness. It doesn't sound like, this activated, aligned, empowering, life force generating mechanism that I feel when I'm getting up here and doing these live streams, for instance. Okay, we've got a lot of people saying stuff here. So Nicola's saying, do you want me to post it? What are you referring to posting here? Oh, yeah, sorry, Vanessa's also got something. Vanessa and Micah from our community are doing a workshop starting this weekend called Empowering Women Financially. It's only $88. The link is in last week's video, but basically this is great for women who really want to just start in with crypto and work at a very safe, manageable level. It's a great workshop for that. Thank you for reminding me, Vanessa. I was just going back to that question that Nicola Wilson was asking on, do you want me to share this? You can share any of the links that I have below. You can share. So, if you want to share the crypto personality test, be my guest. I'd love that, in fact, because, that's what I do in this show is I try to give away stuff that I've created that might help your life. Sometimes there's a price tag. I got to eat too. But if I can do it for free, I'll do it for free. Simple as that. Okay. Thank you all so much for joining today. This has been one heck of a chat about all sorts of amazing things. You've got lots of links to follow. Another thing too, please follow the Telegram group as I give away lots of goodies on there, and I always announce the shows first on the Telegram channel. So you'll find all of that in the description below, and I just hope that everybody has a great day, and that somehow, even though we're talking about such an important urgent theme, that you can find peace with it, that it doesn't bring you anxiety. It actually brings you a sense of strength. You can actually take your power back in knowing this information. So thank you very much, and have yourselves a fabulous day.
This is Octave Leap. Innovation, regeneration, and human optimization.